everybody, it's Rebecca here. Welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. In today's video, I am renovating one of the Alto apartments in San Myshuno, and we are going for a very traditional and a very opulent build. So I had already renovated this a couple years ago for my save file when I had Diego Lobo living in this apartment, but if you've seen my Italian designer mansion build, then you might already know that I have moved that fellow out to Tortosa, and this apartment is now sitting vacant, and I wanted to remodel it again. It was very dark and moody and weird when I originally remodeled it for Diego, but I wanted to go for something a little bit more traditional because I had renovated the neighboring apartment for my save file as well, and I'd gone for a more traditional remodel of that apartment, and I wanted that to match the style here. So the people who live in this building are probably a little bit more traditional, or they prefer more antique furnishings, or they prefer this style of home over ultra modern. So that's the vibe that we're going for here. You can see that in the entryway, I went for a blue and white marble checkered floor, and I am just doing that by pressing Control F when I've got my floor selected, and that creates a quarter tile, and that way you can create really cool patterns with solid floors. So I've done that in the entryway. You can see that I'm doing that here in the kitchen area, and we'll be doing the same in the bathrooms as well. There are a total of 3 bedrooms. All of them have en-suites, and then there's also a powder room off of the entrance. So you can see here that we've got the kitchen layout all figured out, and I am putting a marble backsplash in the kitchen. And this is a feature that I really wanted. Part of my inspiration for this apartment was that wallpaper, which is from Get Famous. And I really wanted, like I said, just a really opulent, kind of over the top look for this home. And this stone backsplash was exactly the look that I was going for. I'm not a huge fan of the trim that comes with it. The baseboard and the crown molding have this orange gold shade for this particular swatch, and I'm not really a big fan of, but you can actually see it in first person mode. So you can see it when the camera is above it, but when your sim is in first person mode, you won't be able to see it. So the cupboard should be covering the rest of it up. But I really like it. I do wish we had more wallpapers like that. It really matches the marble floors that we got from the pack really well, but with the trim, it makes it a lot harder to use in less intense color schemes. So it does work really well as a backsplash because you can cover it with your cabinets and your countertops. So yeah, definitely was a fan of those two. You can see that the furnishings that I'm placing down for the dining room are definitely more traditional. I think the person that lives here owns a lot of antiques, and they own a lot of fancy furniture. And as you can see, I have covered up the romantic fireplace that is iconic in this apartment unit. It just wasn't going with the rest of the theme that I had for this home. It's not deleted or anything like that, so when I do upload this, if you want to place this apartment, if you really want to have the romantic fireplace uncovered, it's just hidden beneath a platform, so you can easily uncover it like an archaeologist and bring it back to its glory. But the modern look of it just wasn't what I was going for, and I thought it'd be a lot more realistic that this is a condo where the people who live here have been able to remodel it to their taste. So instead, I am placing that giant fireplace from the Life and Death pack, we use quite a lot of items from that pack in this build. So we've got the bookcases, we've got some of the dining chairs from that pack, the rugs from that pack, which are so cool. I really love the patterns on them. We've got those all over the place as well. So the couches are from that pack as well. So very heavy on the life and death pack. It really does suit this kind of modern traditional build that I was going for. And I imagine that this is a slightly older building, maybe built in like the 80s or the 90s, and that this would have been remodeled by the person who lives here around the turn of the century. So I wanted to feel a little bit dated in some of the choices that I make, but also because this person likes traditional furnishings a little bit more, I thought it would be fun to just kind of lean into it. You can see that from the countertops here, that really nice caramelly color with the brown cabinetry. Very traditional, very not my style, but again, I thought it was perfect for this build. And I also really liked the contrast of the orange and the brown to the blue tile that we've got in the kitchen. I do have that same blue tile in the bathroom here, but I do change it a little bit later to the gray tile just to tone it down a little bit more. I couldn't really make the blue work the way that I wanted to in the bathroom, but this is the primary ensuite. So we do have a shower and bathtub and a walk-in closet over there. And then we do expand it a little bit later on in the video just to make it feel a little bit more tied in to the rest of the build. Here I'm just replacing the lower part of the cabinets. They were from Life and Death, but I wasn't a big fan of the fabric that was in the cabinets, so I just replaced those with the base game cabinets instead. And now we're just adding some random pieces of furniture to the living room. Those side tables are from Get Together, and I think I use them in just about every single traditional build that I do. They've got a really good shape, but they're also not too big. The Sims 4 is famous for having way too big side tables, but those are a nice shape because they're a little bit narrow, so they fit really well next to larger pieces of furniture. And these rugs are just from base game. The swatches actually fit really well for the color scheme that I was going for, so I'm pretty happy with those. We're just randomly placing down some furniture here to get an idea of where things go. Almost thought about using that toilet from Get Famous, but it was just a little bit too opulent. These people have what I would consider an over-the-top style, but I didn't think it was so over-the-top that they would have that ridiculous toilet from Get Famous, so I opted out of that one. This is the powder room next to the entrance, and I'm going for bespoke tile here. I decided just not to use the marble flooring for that one, just to break things up a little bit. I'm also adding a laundry room next to the kitchen, which originally was going to be a butler's pantry, but I decided against it. And in this closet here, I am using boxes from Get to Work, and I think they're unlockables from the Detective Career, but they look like shoe boxes, so I was really happy when I found that. And I'm placing those in those nice new cupboards that we got from the mudroom kit, which was really perfect for this walk-in closet. We're back to the laundry room here. It is very simple and very basic. This could easily be switched into a different kind of room. Like I said, this could very much be a butler's pantry if you want to hide some more appliances. I did not want there to be a ton of clutter in the kitchen. I didn't want there to be things all over the countertops because I think the person who lives here would not want clutter on their countertops. And this is also in general just not a very cluttered build. I was actually kind of surprised at how quickly it came together and how short this video ended up being when I was editing it. And I guess it's because I didn't have to build anything and I'm just remodeling an apartment, but I also, yeah, really held back on the clutter in this one. Here I'm adding a grand piano. I noticed at this point in my build that there wasn't a ton of stuff for The Sims to do in this home, so I didn't have any hobby items or anything like that, so I wanted to get an instrument in there, and I managed to fit in the grand piano in this area, I think pretty perfectly. And it's also really nice to walk into the entryway, and when you look left into the living room, the first thing you see is that huge grand piano. So I think that's actually the perfect place for it. And here we're finally pulling out some plants. Something was missing, and I noticed at this point that I didn't have any plants in the build. I'd put down a couple of flowers, but that's it. And the green from the plants definitely helps make this feel a little bit more alive and more like a real apartment. So I'm just using base game plants and that one really nice palm from For Rent, which looks really pretty in here. But yeah, this is, like I said, it's a little bit of a shorter video. I am going to be uploading this. The tray files will be available on my Patreon at some point, and I'll figure out a way to post this on my gallery as well. Since this is an apartment, it'll have to be uploaded as a room, and because I've got platforms throughout the home, including where the old fireplace is, I might have to upload a version of this without any platform work, and if you place this in your save file, you will just have to add those platforms back yourself. So I will get those files together, and hopefully that'll work out okay. Eventually this will also be available in my save file whenever I get a version of that out here. I've got lots of other apartments that have already been renovated for my save file. I would like to share those as well. The apartment that I have on the other side, the other Alto apartment. I'm a really big fan of what I did in there, so I might share a tour of that at some point, and definitely will share the tray files if I can make the tray files for this one work. But here I'm just quickly doing the bathrooms for the en-suites, and these are pretty simple. I can't remember if I mentioned that I want to maybe turn one of these into an office. There is no office space in this apartment. Maybe the person who works here or lives here doesn't want to work from home at all, but those would definitely be very easy to turn into an office space, but these could also very much be turned into kids' rooms or other hobby rooms. You can just get rid of the en-suite so you don't need those. And this is also the rooms. They get the best, I think, morning light. When the sun rises in the city, they get some really beautiful light through those big windows. I am using the vintage glamour kit for the cupboards. It goes really nicely with the modern luxe kit. And here I am just toning down the bathroom tiles a little bit, and that definitely looks a lot better. It also goes better with the wallpaper that I picked for the bathrooms, and those are tiles from high school years, which I rarely use those tiles. There aren't a lot of places where I feel like they fit really well, but I thought they were kind of perfect for this apartment. This is exactly the kind of tile work that I would expect in a slightly older bathroom as well. So big fan of that. Just adding some lighting to the bathrooms, and then we are adding a little bit more furnishing to the primary suite, which is very simple and straightforward. I do add carpet to the rooms off camera, but you'll see those in a little bit. I thought I just made it a little bit more dated and made it feel a little bit more cozy and lived in as well. And I think the person who lives here would also be a fan of carpet. They like rugs, they like carpet, and it just makes it feel a little bit warmer too. And I added the wall to make the ensuite a little bit more cohesive. I thought it didn't make a lot of sense to just have a blank space behind that, so now it kind of feels like an extension of the closet, and I'm a lot happier with that. I also really like the carpet in these rooms. Again, it just makes it feel a lot warmer and a lot more dated, which is exactly what I wanted for this build. But that more or less wraps it up. So I am going to finish my commentary here. I'm really curious to hear what you think of this build. Please let me know in the comments. Thanks for everybody who has been subscribing and commenting so far. And I can't wait to talk to you all in the next one. Bye-bye.